Greetings and welcome to a video on lists. Now, we got a couple of before we begins that we've got to cover before I start talking and showing code for lists. First and foremost, read this page. I'm serious, read this page. I haven't said that on anything else yet, but I'm saying it for here. Lists is one of those areas where new programmers struggle the most in understanding the concept. There's a couple of counterintuitive things that lists do. They sometimes get a little weird in how you access them and change them. And so watch this video and read this page and go through and check out all the try it yourselves that W3 Schools has. This is not, figuring out the best way to word this. It is not a hard subject, but it is not easy either. It will take some effort to properly wrap your mind around how to use lists in Python. Now, a list is part of what's called a collection. And as it mentions here, there are three other types of collections by default in Python. And that is the tuple, the set, and the dictionary. For the fundamentals class, the only one that we are going to deal with is the list. We are not going to really deal with the other three. The final need to talk item is the word array. Very high chance that I'll say it at some point in this video. Python does not have arrays. Most other languages, like JavaScript and PHP and Java and C++ and C#, probably some of these others, I'm not sure, but most other languages have a concept of an array. Python does not. That said, a Python list mostly behaves like an array in other languages. The key takeaway here is that when you move on to other languages, one of the things that you always have to pay attention to, a skill that does not transfer very easily between languages, is how to handle collections. Every language is different. So if you move into C++, or you move into Java, or you move into JavaScript after learning Python, make sure you take a moment and specifically look up how that language handles arrays and or lists. Are they separate things? What's the difference, etc. You need to do that. That doesn't transfer very well between languages. And with the gotchas out of the way, let's take a look at some code. Now, I've got a lot of stuff commented out here because it would make it way too messy running this if everything was enabled at once. So I will be enabling and disabling comment blocks as we go through this. Fun fact, you can enable and disable blocks on Python code by selecting multiple lines and either going to Edit and toggle line comment, which is what I prefer to do, or you can use the Control forward slash to toggle the comments on and off for the selected lines. All right, arrays, what are they? Why do we use them? Imagine for a moment that you need to track 100 different pieces of similar data. You've got 100 numbers, 100 words, 100 whatever. You could create 100 variable names. Variable 00, variable 01, variable 02, so on and so forth to variable 99. That is entirely possible. You can do that. I really wouldn't recommend it. As now every time that you want to reference those, if you want to like sum them all together, you have to write variable 00 plus variable 01, yada, yada, yada. No, do not want, I'll pass. In these scenarios where you have a collection of data that you want to group together, well, you use a collection. In most cases, a list in Python is what you are going to want to use. And we do that by having a variable name, the assignment operator, and for lists specifically, we use the square bracket. It is very important that you pay attention to which bracket you're using because lists, tuples, and sets all use different style brackets to indicate what they are. So a list is the square bracket. Make sure that it is the square bracket. Do not use any other besides the square bracket. I know I'm saying square bracket a lot because it's really important and can cause all sorts of confusion if you don't use the square bracket. Okay, I'm done now. I'll stop. Inside the square brackets, I lied, you have a comma separated list, hence a list, of data elements. Now, what can be stored inside this list? Anything you darn well please. If it is a valid data type that can be stored in a variable, you can store it in a list. In this particular case, it is a list of string values that contain the days of the week. So how do we access this? And here comes the first part that tends to trip a lot of people up when it comes to lists and arrays and collections in general. Computers really like to start counting from 0. The first element of a list is index 0. Not 1, 0. So if I hit F5 at this point to run this code, it prints out Monday. If I change this to 2, 0, 1, 2, it will print out Wednesday. This is a very important thing to keep in mind because what happens if I try to reference index 7? I mean, 7 days of the week, right? That should be Sunday. No, wrong. Remember, we start from 0. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 doesn't exist. And so if I try to access 7, I am going to get an exception. List index out of range. Very common error that you will see as a new programmer. What this is basically telling you is that whatever index value you tried to access in this collection, it does not exist. Stop execution. This also applies if for some bizarre reason you try to access an index below 0, which doesn't make any sense. This could happen due to a logic error when you're using variables instead of numbers like this. And of course, it doesn't give you an exception error. It gives me Sunday because consistency. Yeah, programming gets weird sometimes. Don't ever actually use negative index values, please. Just don't. It is a mistake. You do not want to go down this route. Okay. So what if I want to access every element in a collection? I want to print out every day of the week. Well, this is where for loops come into play. If you're feeling a little fuzzy on for loops, pause for a moment, go back to W3 Schools, read the page on for loops, go back and watch the video, refresh your memory. We have two ways of doing it. First way is we can use for variable in collection. Remember, the for loop in Python is specifically designed to iterate over every element in a collection. So I can just simply say for day in day names. And what will happen is starting at index 0 and going to the last element in the collection, it will put that in order into this variable name, and then I can use it inside the for loop. So if I hit F5, it produces the expected output. Advantages of doing this way, it's pretty easy to read, 4-day and day names. That's pretty obvious what I'm doing here. Disadvantage is I can't do any fun little shenanigans with like manipulating the index value because there is no index value. I can't actually tell where I am in this list. It's just going to go from start to end, and there's really no way to modify that. The other way that we can do this is by using range. Remember range from the for video? Range technically produces a list of numbers. So if I say range 7, it will produce a list starting with 0 and going up to, but not including, the upper limit. So this will produce a list of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, how do I know what to put in here? Like, what do I put into range? Well, as you can see, we have a function called len, which stands for length. And length will tell you how many elements are in the collection that you pass in. So if I pass in day names to length, or len, which I will just simply call length, then length will tell me, oh, there's 7 elements in that. Range 7 generates a list from 0 to 6, which, again, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are the indices for this collection. And I just have this here to sort of prove the point that, yes, this is the index value that we are accessing. So if I run it, there we go. Days of the week and the indice values that we're using to access those. Straightforward, if not necessarily ultra intuitive. Now, can we change the contents of an array? Well, yes, we can. Thursday is named after Thor. So says the internet. I'm not entirely sure if that's actually true, but it's amusing, so we'll go with it. Thursday is Thursday. Now, if I want to change Thursday, what index is this? Last time I count, I'll promise. So 0, 1, 2, 3. At the moment, Thursday is at the 3rd index. So if I say day names bracket 3 equals Thursday, that will change it. And so now if I do a print statement, Thursday was once day names of 3, it will print out Thursday. So we run it. Thursday was Thursday. And then if I do the print statement out again, we can see, sure enough, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It is working as expected. So that is how you would change the value. You just simply reference the index that you want to alter and give it a new assignment. Easy as that. Now, how can we modify things? Well, there's a couple of different ways that we can add and remove things to a list. One way that we can remove is using the pop command. And basically pop, if you mouse over it, remove and return item and index. Technically, when I do pop, it is returning the string that I'm popping off or the thing that I am popping off. But you don't have to use it, as here, I'm just popping off the end. Now, if you give it an index, it will pop out from the collection, from the list, whatever is at that specific index. So what these two statements will do, this first pop will get whatever the last item is. And if we scroll up here and look, we can see that is Sunday. So that should get rid of Sunday. And then pop 1, well, 0, 1, that should get rid of Tuesday. So when I print this list out again, we should get Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That is exactly what we get. So the first pop, again, got rid of the Sunday, and the pop 1 got rid of Tuesday. So if I need to remove items from a list, I can use pop. We can also add, and there is another method of removing things that sort of demonstrates well together. That is append for adding and remove. So append will append another item to the end of the list. So if I say daynames.append Wednesday, now I'll have 8 elements in my list. It would read Monday through Sunday, and then the last item here would be another Wednesday. Dot remove, which is the other removal method that we have, will remove the first instance of the thing that I'm removing. Now notice this time for the removal, I'm not specifying an index value, I'm specifying a value. If I tried, remove the first occurrence of a value. It's not looking for an index. If you tried an index here, it's not going to work. So by saying day names remove Wednesday, it's not going to remove the Wednesday that's on the end of the list now. It's going to remove this one. So now our list is going to be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday. And sure enough, there we go. Now, there is one final one that I realized that I forgot to put in here. So actually, let me uncomment that out real quick. And that is insert. Insert allows you to specify an index and the thing that you are inserting. And it will insert before that index. It is worth noting that you cannot insert to the end of a list. If you want to add something to the end of the list, you must use append. So, for example, if I wanted to add something in front of Monday, I could say insert 0 Sunday. Which is actually how most calendars work. They go from Sunday to Saturday, not Monday to Sunday. So by saying insert 0 Sunday, there we go. I now have a Sunday at the new 0 point. Basically, insert is saying this index will become this, everything else will be shoved down 1. Also, fun fact, did you know that while I record these videos, I gesture with my hands like you can see me? I don't know why I do that. Now, if I wanted to tidy this up a little bit, there shouldn't be 2 Sundays, right? Well, before, pardon me, I append this Wednesday, I could do a day names dot pop to get rid of the Sunday. Then I move Wednesday to the end of the week because reasons. Then I insert Sunday, and now I've only got the one Sunday. So we got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday's doing its own thing as Wednesdays do. One quick final thing that I'm not going to go too deep down in, and that is strings. Because if you even half-heartedly poke at lists and arrays in any programming language, the topic of strings is going to come up. Strings will be its own entirely separate video. This is just sort of as a very brief taster, shall we say. A string is technically a set, not a list, but there's a lot of similar behaviors going on here. So let me comment out this block. Comment in this one, there we go. So if I have a string called a meep, I can access each individual character in the string as if it were a list. So if I say 4-letter in demo and then print that out, it's going to print out every line, every letter of that word on its own line. And there we go. Everything on its own separate line. And just like the days of the week, if I print demo of 1, which would be this E right here, remember 0, 1, it prints out an E as expected. Now, this is not a list because we uncomment out and add these 2 lines back in here where I'm trying to change that first E to a capital E. Boom. Exception has occurred. String object does not support item assignment. Can't do that with strings. You can't modify like this, at least. Like I said, strings are their own thing. We will deal with them on their own. Just sort of like I said, a quick little taster of, yeah, strings do have some list-like tendencies to them, but they are not lists. And that concludes this video. Again, lists are complicated. Do not expect to absorb this on this one, looking at the recording time, 22-minute video. It will not happen. Watch this video again. Go through and read the W3 Schools Python list page. Do the try it yourselves. Go through all of these little subcategories here. Just take some time, poke at them, play with them a little bit, get used to them, and take your time. Again, this is, for some people, yeah, you will just instantly cotton on to this and you'll be good. Those are the exception. If you're looking at this going, what? Don't worry, that's the normal reaction. Just, like I said, take your time, go through it, go through the video, go through W3 Schools, play around with them a little bit, just take some time to get used to them. And that concludes this video, and so I'll talk to you in the next one.